So the event, David, that you're talking about is the unfortunate events around the Red Mountain event.
Correct.
In Oklahoma. There was a report, I believe, by the Chemical Safety Board that summarized some of their findings. Are you familiar with some of those, Jim? Or
This one I can't speak to.
okay, okay.
This is something that I'm very.
But you're familiar. See, Jim and Jim, I've got it covered. The synergy right here.
Yeah. One of the things that we're looking at also, and a lot of things that we're depending upon the industry, is we're starting to recognize that more training is needed. You look at a well site supervisor, he goes to well control training every 2 years. What other training does he receive? Now this gentleman is receiving a large sum of money for his services, but unless he's never been to a cement school, he's never been to a mud school, and in this case, I don't think that they even knew what managed pressure drilling was about. There were so many mistakes on this right there. I think it was mentioned that they had a rotating head that was not even rated for what they wanted to do. Managed pressure drilling is you have to have the plan. It's not an idea that you're just going to start in the middle of. It takes a lot of planning. It's a lot of hydraulics involved. You have well geometry that's involved in it. You have just everything that you can mention in hydraulics. They're a part of this, and I didn't see any part of this. Now, as far as the training goes, all the drillers are required to go every 2 years. It's been my experience, and it's on the rigs, that training lasts about 6 months. They'll remember it for a good 6 months, and then it disappears. And they're depending on someone else to make that decision for them. In the case of Red Mountain, there was no decision making. I call it critical thinking. There was, and you could see that the warning signs on the surface that things were happening down hole were being ignored. It was not just the alarms that were being ignored. It was practices that you're trying to fill your hole not with your centrifugal, but you're trying to fill it with your mud pumps. That gives you an idea that something's going wrong and should be right there. And it goes on, you can just go on to mistake after mistake after mistake that was made. It's a shame that these people lost their lives over, and working for the well control companies I have, I've never been on a serious blowout that it didn't take days to develop. Especially in the fatalities. It always takes several days to get to that point of fatality. You've got so many stop gaps in there and things being ignored. So when we can start being proactive and we can say, okay, yeah, we have this person here, or we've got an overview of what's going on in the field, we're going to start saving lives. We're going to start saving money. We're going to start saving equipment. It's boundless. It never ends. The efficiency that they're looking for today, they're looking for it in tools and, as you mentioned, ROP. Mm-hmm. That's not where your efficiency is. Your efficiency is stopping these hazards and these before they start. You look at safety. Safety's kind of got this a little better down. You're looking at a timeline. So you start with let's say an injury. Say a guy mashed his finger. So you take that timeline and you say, here's mashed his finger, and you go backwards as to why he mashed that finger. At this time over here, this happened at noon today. At 10 o'clock, he was told to go hammer up this union. Couldn't find a hammer, so he took at 10:10. He took a crescent with him, or a pipe wrench. Mm-hmm. Spent 10 minutes looking for a hammer, couldn't find one. And you go through and you can see the buildup of what happens to that we're talking about the same thing with reactive and proactive software. You got reactive, the hazard's already happened. With the proactive, you're seeing it come before it happens.
So let me pick up on something because I think it's really important. Critical thinking. Heretofore, the industry really does not have any systems in this market that really support critical thinking. And that's what has to happen on drilling rigs. But there are also some fundamental boundary issues. We talk about kicks and we talk about well control. We have to realize that even in MPD operations, the primary barrier is the mud system. And if you really take a look at part of the evolution of what happened on the Oklahoma blowout, this well again was flowing substantially before the trip ever began. They did circulate out the gas, but there was no attempt whatsoever to determine kill weight mud. So then you compound it by beginning the trip, and the tubular replacement volume was out of whack from the onset. Here again is where systems are needed that analyze that data in real time. We need to see every stand of drill pipe pulled out of the hole, that we have the correct replacement volume. So we have systems that have good screens, that have good capabilities, but nowhere is there an automated watch, if you will, about an out of balance condition. Now, when you consider the continuing evolution of Oklahoma, you get up into the vertical and circulate, as the Chemical Safety Board said, a pill to make sure you hold down the cap and kill the well. Well, here's the problem, and it's the boundary that I speak of. If you have no idea what kill weight mud is, then you have no idea how to construct that pill. So these are fundamental issues that the industry misses. But if we have real-time systems that support critical thinking, and that you have watches that say well flowing or possible kick, then you have at least something that can engage a complete team on a just-in-time basis and notifications that really are indicative that you got a problem. So the importance of what we're trying to do and what we are doing, I think extends, and the benefits are not only to the drilling contractor, but they're also to the operator. So that brings me to a question to Jim. You saw this on both a historical analysis and some test wells that were conducted on your behalf. What did it mean to you on the historical analysis to be able to compare to your wells drilling and literally see part of that event time that we were talking about? And I'll refer to the slide that we've talked about as a 5 hour watch, if you will, against stuck pipe.
So there's two things that you mentioned, David. Number one is that there's a 5 hour window where the problem was developing that the rig ignored. There's 11 hours after it trying to get unstuck and successfully getting unstuck. So I mean, good story. But in total, right, there's 16 hours where we weren't being productive. Let's put it that way. And I say the 5 hours getting ourselves stuck. We were drilling ahead, but really we were drilling ourselves stuck. Yeah. Let's be honest, right? It's a land rig. It's certainly not offshore cost, but it's significant on a well where we're now into the sub 5 days from spud to TD. Half a day, 11 hours is a big percentage. So it's actually huge on the shallow wells.
So let me do a comparison there. What are you talking about economically on that 16 hours that was the 5 hours in drilling and the 11 hours to get
what's that, 25%
half a day costs you.
Well, so if you took your all-up costs, you're probably in the 100, anywhere, any land operation that I know of in North America right now is sort of running between that $100,000 to $160,000 a day. Depends if you include construction and that, but it's in that range. So half a day of that is a minimum of $50,000. We got unstuck, so I didn't have to buy a BHA and drill pipe, but there's not a BHA out there that's worth less than $250,000.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Plus
it
the
could've
cement
been.
job to go around it. It's $1 million.
So-
Oops,
But
as soon as you can't get around it.
there's still some hidden costs there also, because you have to go back and clean that, you have to go back and clean that hole up right there after you got unstuck.
Yeah, so there's no doubt it's if you just included the 11 hours that we were to get unstuck and to be able to get drilling again, I kind of included it there. But again, now from that point on in the wellbore, we're not drilling at maximum penetration rate because we're still looking behind going, do we know what caused it or not?
Exactly.
Right? And
So-
so we handicapped ourselves for the rest of the well. So there's an unaccounted for cost on that well that I'm going to say is probably in the order of another 3 or 4 hours minimum, right? And again, this is on a 4 to 5 day spud to TD well. So it's
So-
significant. You're
Excuse me, question. How much ROP would you have to increase to make up for that lost time? And that's what I'm talking about in avoidable lost
can't.
time. You can't do it.
you cannot make up a lost half a day when you've got another 2.5 days to drill in the well.
Yeah.
You physically cannot. We don't have the bit technology. We don't have the motor technology. We don't have enough shakers on that rig to handle that many cuttings coming across at one point if we were to increase the ROP.
Well,
It's
and
just not
that's
feasible.
another interesting point on
You're
ROP.
behind. It's just
Yeah.
how far do you let it get behind?
And that's another interesting point on ROP, because there's a technical limit of how far and how fast you can increase it. According to the pumps, according to the rheology, according to the shakers and everything else. So if we're dealing with an issue that is as benign as a simple recoverable stuck pipe incident, this is what the industry needs to embrace and realize, and that's where we're actually wasting our money.